4 signs you're about to encounter a divine opportunity. Stoicism Part 1: The Call Before the Turning Point. There are moments in life that hum with an unfamiliar tension, moments when time slows down and the air itself seems to breathe differently. You can't quite explain it, but you feel it. The laughter around you fades into distance. The things that once excited you no longer satisfy. It's as if something unseen, quiet yet powerful is calling you to rise, to evolve, to face yourself. These moments are not accidents, they are thresholds. Every soul at some point in its journey stands at such a doorway, a place between what has been and what is about to begin. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that fate does not whisper to the careless, it speaks to the disciplined. Epictetus reminded his students that difficulties show what men are. In other words, when life begins to tremble beneath your feet, it is not punishment, it is preparation. What we call a divine opportunity does not come in luxury, clarity, or calm. It comes disguised as discomfort, challenge, loss, or isolation. It does not flatter your ego, it tests your foundation. If you are going through a period of uncertainty, if the ground beneath you feels unstable, it may not be chaos you are facing. It may be a sacred rearrangement. And there are 4 signs that often reveal such a turning point is near. Sign 1: the storm that tests what you claim to believe. Every belief sounds strong when the weather is kind. We can all speak of courage when no risk is required. We can all preach patience when life is easy. But when the sky darkens and your certainties begin to shake, what remains of your philosophy then? That is the storm, and it is always the first sign. When life strips away your comfort, your plans, your control, it is not trying to destroy you, it is revealing you. Seneca wrote that fire tests gold and misfortune tests brave men. The Stoics never sought to avoid difficulty, they sought to use it. For they knew, the quality of one's soul is not shown in ease, but in endurance. The nature of the test. A storm doesn't ask for your permission. It arrives, it shakes your schedule, dismantles your illusions, forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. Sometimes it comes through loss of a relationship, a job, a reputation. Sometimes it arrives through silence, when life stops giving you answers and you must create them yourself. At first, you might think, why me? But a more useful question is, why now? Perhaps life is pruning you for a deeper strength. Perhaps this is the very terrain where your philosophy must prove itself real. The inner fire. A divine opportunity never arrives when you are comfortable. It arrives when you are raw, when the familiar has failed, when your hands are empty. Because only then can the divine fill them with something new. When everything is uncertain, you are being trained to find stability inside yourself. When emotions pull you in every direction, life is asking you to anchor deeper, not wider. It is easy to quote Stoic wisdom, harder to live it when your peace is under siege. Yet that is the moment that matters. To remain calm when the storm rages, that is the alchemy that turns adversity into awakening. Every hardship faced with composure strengthens the invisible architecture of your character. Every disappointment endured without bitterness polishes the mirror of your reason. The Stoics didn't believe in escape, they believed in endurance, not as resignation, but as transformation. The meaning behind the storm. What feels like loss is often divine renovation. When you are stripped of what once defined you, you are being cleared for what will refine you. The divine does not speak in comfort, it speaks in challenge. So when you find your life shaking, when plans crumble, when familiar doors close, do not run. Observe, listen, listen. Let the fire burn away what no longer serves. There is a quiet majesty in holding your ground when everything else collapses. The Stoic does not ask for an easy life, only the strength to meet life as it comes. For storms are not sent to break the disciplined, they are sent to reveal them. Sign 2: isolation, the sacred space before transformation. If the storm tests your strength, isolation tests your soul. There comes a time in every person's journey when life pulls them away from the noise, the crowds, and the familiar faces, not as punishment, but as purification. You begin to feel detached, even from things that once defined you. Conversations that used to energize you now feel empty. The goals you once chased no longer spark meaning. It's as though life itself has pressed pause, inviting you into silence. The solitude of the Stoic Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, ruled over millions. Yet his greatest thoughts were written not in the Senate, but in solitude. He understood that the mind cannot find itself amid constant distraction. It must withdraw, reflect, and reorder its values. He wrote in his meditations, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." To the modern mind, solitude feels like loneliness, but to the Stoic, solitude is a forge. It is the place where the noise of the world fades, so you can finally hear the quiet voice within, the one that tells you who you really are and what you are meant to do next. When the universe pulls you away, you may not understand why you're being distanced from people, routines, or opportunities, but the divine often isolates before it elevates. Like a sculptor separating a block of marble from the mountain, it must first remove you from what numbs you before it can reveal what defines you. When you are alone, your distractions fall silent. You can no longer run from your thoughts. You must meet them. And in doing so, you begin to see clearly what truly matters, what drains your spirit, and where your energy must now flow. That clarity is the soil in which divine opportunity grows. Learning to dwell in silence. In silence, the Stoic learns discipline. They do not beg for company or certainty. They observe, they simplify, they return to essentials. The modern world worships motion, but the Stoic honors stillness, because from stillness comes strength, from reflection comes clarity, and from clarity comes direction. So if you find yourself in a season of solitude, do not resist it. Sit with it, study it. Let it refine your inner dialogue. For it is in that quiet space that the divine reshapes your destiny, not through noise, but through nuance. Solitude is not the absence of connection. It is the presence of meaning, and meaning always precedes manifestation. Sign 3, the collapse of the old self. After the storm and the silence comes the shedding. This is the most painful part of transformation, when the identity you once wore begins to crumble. The habits, roles, and masks that once made you feel safe now feel suffocating. You sense that something within you has outgrown its shell, but you can't yet see what lies beyond. The Stoics knew this stage well. They called it metanoia, a radical shift in perception when the soul awakens to a new understanding of itself. The death before the rebirth. To encounter a divine opportunity, you must die to who you were. This is not poetic exaggeration, it is existential necessity. A caterpillar cannot carry its cocoon into flight. Likewise, you cannot carry your old identity into your next evolution. This collapse might look like losing interest in your old ambitions, or realizing that the relationships you built no longer fit the person you're becoming. It can feel disorienting, as if the map you lived by has suddenly been erased. But what if that's exactly what's needed? Because only when the old map is gone can you start charting your true path, one not drawn by habit, fear, or expectation, but by inner truth. The Stoic way of letting go. The Stoic does not cling to form. They understand the world as a series of cycles: creation, decay, renewal. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, all things are in flux. You yourself are a passing thing. That truth isn't meant to depress. It's meant to liberate. When you accept impermanence, you stop resisting change. When you stop resisting, you begin to flow with the rhythm of the universe, and it's that rhythm that carries you toward your divine opportunity. Every ending becomes a beginning in disguise. The old self collapses not to destroy, but to clear space for who you must become next. Finding dignity in the collapse. The Stoic does not lament the fall, they learn from it. They hold composure amid the disintegration of what was familiar, because they know composure is not the denial of emotion, it is the mastery of response. You are not losing yourself, you are being refined. You are being taught how to live from essence, not ego. And when that lesson roots itself deeply within you, the next sign begins to appear: clarity. Sign 4, the emergence of purpose and synchronicity. There comes a morning when the air feels different. The heaviness that once clung to you begins to lift. After all the storms, silence, and shedding, a new sense of calm arises, steady and unforced. You begin to see patterns, small coincidences, subtle alignments, as if life itself is gently guiding your steps. A conversation opens a door, an old dream resurfaces. Something within whispers, "This is the way." That is not fantasy. That is synchronicity, the language of a universe that recognizes you are finally ready. Purpose revealed through readiness. Divine opportunities do not appear when you want them. They appear when you are ready for them. The Stoics understood this paradox. They believed that fate and virtue move together, that destiny is not imposed from outside, but earned through the alignment of one's inner order with the order of the cosmos. As Marcus wrote, "The universe's change, our life is what our thoughts make it. When your thoughts become steady, your life begins to align. When your actions flow from integrity rather than impulse, the path ahead starts to open naturally." This is not magic, it is moral physics. The universe responds to coherence. Recognizing the divine in the ordinary. A divine opportunity rarely arrives with spectacle. It may appear as a conversation, a chance to serve, a subtle idea that refuses to leave your mind. It does not shout, it invites. The untrained eye looks for miracles in the sky. The Stoic looks for them in the discipline of daily life. Because what is divine is not distant, it is the harmony between your reason and reality. When your inner life aligns with virtue, courage, wisdom, temperance, justice, you start to perceive opportunity everywhere. The divine is not waiting for you out there. It is waiting for you to become attuned enough to notice. Living in alignment. To live stoically is to live in participation with fate, not fighting it, not fleeing it, but flowing with it consciously. And that flow naturally leads to purpose. You begin to realize that your pain had purpose. Your solitude had shape. Your loss was guidance in disguise. Everything was preparing you for this, to act not from desperation, but from direction, not from fear, but from faith, not in haste, but in harmony. That is the hallmark of divine opportunity. It does not push, it pulls. It draws you forward with quiet conviction, not frantic urgency. Epilogue. The Stoic path to divine readiness. So if you find yourself at a crossroads, uncertain, weary, yet quietly aware that something is shifting, pause. Don't rush to fill the silence or escape the discomfort. You may be standing at the edge of your next divine opportunity. The storm you survived has strengthened your resolve. The solitude you endured has purified your vision. The collapse you grieved has refined your essence. And now life whispers again. Step forward. What the Stoics would tell you. Epictetus would remind you that freedom is not found in controlling circumstances, but in mastering your response to them. Seneca would urge you to see adversity not as cruelty, but as craftsmanship. Marcus Aurelius would tell you to align with nature, to meet each moment fully, faithfully, and with reason. In that alignment lies your readiness. In that readiness lies your opportunity. And in that opportunity, the divine does its quiet work. The final reflection. Perhaps the most powerful Stoic truth is this: you do not find divine opportunity, you become it. When you cultivate character, when you endure with grace, when you live with integrity despite uncertainty, you become the very vessel through which divine purpose flows. So if life feels uncertain, do not despair. You are not being abandoned, you are being prepared. The Stoics believe that destiny favors the disciplined, that the gods, or whatever word you use for the sacred, invest their favor not in those who beg for ease, but in those who build the strength to meet what must come. So walk forward calmly. Your trials were the tuition, your stillness was the study, and now your moment approaches, because when the soul is ready, the divine does not delay.